Today's session 11, right? So in that part, that the object-oriented programming. Okay. Before I start that OOPS concept, I ask you that which things trigger in your mind when I start talking about object-oriented. Okay. OOPS part. What is the first thing comes into your mind?
Class and object.
Those are the technical part. I'm not about technical. I'm asking about basic English. Like, what are the things trigger in your mind first?
Various OOPS concepts like inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction.
Again, yes, definitely. But those are the technical part. Means the Python part. I'm not about Python part. I'm talking about objects.
abstraction,
हेलो सर
interpolation, polymorphism.
सर बोल रहे हैं कि सर आप क्या पहले से फिर से शुरू स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं ये शब्द आपने एक दो डेढ़ महीने पहले सिखाए थे अच्छा ओके ओके
Not now.
ओके सर
So, as object means, if I told you about the basic English or the basic philosophy, if I start discussing about object means it belongs from something. Okay, maybe some example from some group or maybe some class. So exactly that part, that basic foundation comes into the Python. Like if I give you one example, suppose we are discussing about a dog. Either if you are from India, you can see the Indian street dog. If you're from German, you can see German Shepherd. Okay. If you goes to Russia, you will see Husky. So those are the breed from the dog we know. So if dog we will be thinking about is in class, maybe there is some example, maybe there is some object, some instance from that dog class will be some Indian street dog or husky or anything. If I give you one example, suppose you are building one robot. Okay, you are building one robot. So the robot maybe not based on the single things. You have to build one backbone before. So from that backbone, say suppose this is one blueprint of your robot. Okay. I am simply writing R. So this is represent one robot. This one blueprint means which things you need circuits, you need some metals, and you need some parts. Those are the main blueprint that the robot will provide. Now, based on the robot provide, maybe you want to create one robot one, which definitely had one color. Okay, I'm writing color, maybe some red. Okay, maybe some instance will be giving height. Okay, maybe some properties are around 5 feet, and maybe this robot has an working functionalities. It reads, okay, and then translate into your language. Okay. It reads in whatever language it may provide it translates into your mother tongue. Okay, this one robot we manufactured. We manufactured another robot Okay, this is R2. It maybe the color is blue. Okay, from that robot, its height is different, say around 6 feet. Okay, and it has another new work functionality. Say suppose it um, it reads and detects its carbon here. You guys know that the carbon here, that living things, we can predict its age using that the carbon dating. So he reads, and based on this carbon dating, it can predict one living thing's age. Now, in our Python concept, we can tell this robot is our class. Okay, this is our backbone or say blueprint. Okay, from that blueprint, we can reach many objects. Either the first object or instance is R1, the object number one, maybe and another object that's R2, that's object number two. So this is our class. Based on this class, we can create many objects. Okay, that's why in Python it's called object-oriented programming. Okay, the major and the each and the every things we still learned from the first class until now is based on that part. Okay, the oops concept we will see in the later that why we talked about it, but for now you can see the detailed explanation in the web. You go to the python programmers.w3 school. Okay, you can go through there, but based on the concept is same. Object and class is nothing but class is a blueprint, or you can say the blackboard, or maybe some base introduction. From that part we can create each and every objects. Okay, so in future maybe we did not have to, as in function, what we did in function, we can give one properties. Okay, some so not one properties, one working functionalities. So we can use at each and every time in our programming script, or maybe some other kind of program sheet. But in class we discuss like not only the function. Okay, why we will take function, because when we will discuss the methods, then we will understand. Okay, but maybe some other things we can also describe before, as inside our class some things we describe, and maybe we need to create some new things, maybe create some object, maybe create some instance from that part. So that time we will be creating one object one, or maybe one instance. Maybe one we need to create another object. Maybe there are I'm example here. You guys, that you guys are the employees. Maybe the employees we already built one class. Maybe you have some properties. Based on that, we created one object. Maybe the next of you have another some new properties. Based on that, we created one object two. So this is nothing but the oops concept. Based on the backbone, based on our blueprint, we can create multiple instances, also with multiple features and parameters and functionalities. Okay, these are oops part. Now, as in function, we definitely define the function using the def keyword def. In class also, as to represent it, we can simply write class. Okay, then maybe one class name. The standard way is always write the as your title letter. Okay, the first should be in capital one and the rest is small. It employee. I give one example. Then this is bracket. Bracket is optional, as for now today's part we will not discussing about like why we will be writing the bracket, so we will not use that, but there is definitely you will see that some code some below there is written as a bracket. Okay, so let's give the colon to represent it as a class. For now let's write nothing, simply pass it as well as, and from that class let's build two employees. Okay, say employee 1, and when we create one instance, the procedure is you can give the instance name or the object name and you call that class employee, and also execute. No error came. Let's print employee 1. You can see that one object we created from that employee class, that is written employee object as that was main, which is main is nothing but the main function that it's still running in a single script. We will discuss in the oops concept also what is the main part, because sometimes you will see that people is writing that integer or the string equal to some underscore underscore main underscore underscore, because it's important. I will discuss, because for after we'll completely told you about this constructor, but then okay, for now we are creating one object based on this employee class in that memory location. Okay. That's how we can simply create one object, nothing else. This is simple. Now as our basic, like this is not some promising, like we can simply created one object or maybe two objects. Now which is the features, let's added some features or maybe some parameters, okay, to our object. So for that we can write like as the instant parameter, okay, the instance variable we can always had to create using the instance, otherwise it is not calling as instance parameter. So to create that we can simply write emp underscore 1, okay, dot the variable name semi first name, and say gives is the name, okay, and add some last name, uh, let's add suppose email id, and one will be our phone number. So let's create our email id based on this first name and last name. Any phone numbers, okay. This is we do some instantiation based on this instance. So some instance variable we added as it's an instance variable, so we write using that the instant name first, and there's some variable we can execute. There is no error come. Now similarly let's add for the employee 2 also. Okay, we created for some instance variable also the next object. Okay, sometimes people call object, sometimes people call instance. Okay, those are the same things. Okay, instance either people will call instance variable of the object variable. Those are the same things. Now let's try first print out our first instance variable. Say our employee dot email. Execute. Value is printed. Okay. Now suppose say in our employee class as we provided there is nothing we rated till now. Maybe we want to write we have to need to print out some the full name of that employee. So when we'll be creating one full name, let's suppose as we gave you the example of the robot na, so we may not have to write a new variable, instance variable for our full name. We can simply use that the first instance and the second instance variable, and we can create one method, one class, one object method. So we can simply print out the full name of it. Maybe we can also write like print something like mp1 dot first plus emp2 dot second and give a space here. We can just simply write the full name things, but maybe the logic I am building here for the printing full name, we had to repeat it each and every time when we change that the different other kind of instances. So it's better if we create one method so that we can simply use that method to print each and every instance full name. That will be much easier and helpful. So now let's build our class once again. Say class. Right. Now here, as we did not write the first thing, we simply pass there. We can write say give some space. You can see that for the method we will be writing, we are using the def keyword. It is nothing but the principality is following. It's simply our function. The function concept we already learned. Okay, that's why we're writing def. Here inside any classes, the function will be declaring, because this is the properties of the functionalities, not the function. The principalities follow definitely based on the function concept we already learned. Okay, but the formality they are following here, it's little I won't say that different, but maybe much more than a function, because even in Python function there is a lot new things we do, like ordering, passing through a function inside a function. We can use that in our Python language. Okay, so the much major functionalities they can provide. So inside any class, when we will be declaring that, we'll be simply call it as a method or maybe object methods. Okay, because we will be creating object based on it. That's why it's called object method. Because there are also two kind of methods that the Python is providing. One is class method and one is statics method. We'll be discussing in the next session. But for today, simply it's called as our object methods or normal methods. Okay. let's write one method that's printing our full name. So write def full name simply as we did, and what it will do, it will simply print out the first and the last. Okay. Say let's use our formatted string. The full name is, let's do the simple part. Okay. Is then plus first name plus gap, and then say not the last, the second. Let's write the last for now. We'll see. Okay. Now we can simply again do the same thing. Say create two instance from that employee. We created instance from this employee class. Okay, and we pass some parameter, or maybe we defined some variable, instance variable. Okay. Now execute. Okay. As there is no error came, but there is one big error we already did. We'll see. As even say when we try to print say emp1 dot full name, we want to print out the full name, so we're writing emp1 dot full name, and as it's a method, so we had to call it like a function to execute that part. Execute. Now you will see that one error. Which is error? First, it shows that full name takes 0 positional argument, but 1 is given. Okay. Why? We are not passing any argument here. You can see that we are not passing any argument. We are not passing any argument. But thing is, when we execute that part, then that one argument given. So when we try to call a method, okay, as you will see that we are not written as a print dot full name. Okay, you will see that the full name is not exist. So we want to call it either as a perspective of our objects or perspective of our class. So as we are calling through our objects, that's why we are written emp1 dot full name. Okay, when we write emp1 dot full name, automatically which and whatever things we are defining in our for that instance, like those variables, it automatically passed. Okay, when you call like that using our objects, what are the features and the parameter we already defined, automatically passed to our class and object methods. So when we defining here, there is nothing is passed through, no variable is passed through to catch that object. So that's why even in by default people written here as a self. Okay, so using that self keyword, it will automatically define that the exact instance we will be passing. Here we will be passing emp1. So in the self keyword, it will define each and everything that declared within that instance. Clear? Is that part clear?
Yes, sir.
So as this is not necessary to write only the self keyword, you can write each and everything. But as our traditional part, people definitely use that as self keyword to define. Why self? Because self means within myself, me. So when we are defining that object or that instance, so it defining that object in itself. So as the properties within that part, so that's why it is same. As a basic, you can see the basic philosophy, but you
So,
can.
sir,
Hmm.
so what self is actually is? An argument or
Self is an argument. Self is an argument when you will create one instance, whatever instance variable there, so the self will completely define your entire instance. It will pass through when you call the object. Okay. So when we call that object method, that one, so self keyword will come first defining that the entire instance it will create it. As we are writing emp1 dot full name, so it will consider those instance. If we write emp2 dot full name, then it will consider those part. Now, as this is first, this is last, if we know the scope part, that within itself the parameter is working, as within that self there is no parameter that is defining first and last. If we execute, and if we execute here, you will see that name first is not defined, because we don't know which thing is first, which thing is last, as it is not defining within that part. So as we are, when using that self keyword, when we the automatically the object is represented, then as if we want to use that variable, here you can see we are writing emp1 dot first. We can write here emp1 dot emp underscore 1 dot first. You can definitely execute. You will see that the error is changed because the first is considered. If I write here emp1 dot last, execute, so not last, there one more things I will come. Sorry, a second. So as we purposely mentioned that we want to print exact that object first name, that object second name in our full name. Okay. If we write emp dot underscore 2 execute, you will see, did that value change? No, because we hard coded that value to only the first object here. So this is not our desirable answer. Okay. We want to, whatever object we will be creating, we want that full name only. So we definitely use that self keyword when it is not initialized, when that method is called, that the object already passed through using that variable or that argument, then using that keyword like self, automatically those variable will be defined. Let's write self second and self dot first. If we execute, if we employ to full name, you can say that name is changed. If I use that first object, you can see first object is printed. Okay. So this is our traditional way using the self keyword and then that part. Okay. This is basic foundation. Now, one more thing is, suppose you hard coded those things, the first part, second part, email, phone number. Suppose you are creating one another instance, okay, another instance of our employee, say employee 3. Okay. And then all of those things. we created another more instance. Okay. Now thing is, when you like for each and every time, the major problem is we have to define like first, second, email, phone number. In our traditional programming language, as I told you, that repeated things in the which whatever logic you will be using, the repeated things is not desirable or not maybe suitable, maybe good looking for all those people or maybe the client people when you work. So as in OOPS concept, we can also use some advantages of advanced concepts. Then we definitely need not to repeat those parts. So as maybe some again some changes we need to do. Okay, so maybe as the one part will game. Suppose there is employee dot second, there is employee dot last. Okay. Suppose the instance variable provided is employee dot last. Now this is our object. Okay. Say this is our no, this is our class. This is our class. This is our object. Now if we print, say print employee dot full name is equal, there is an error because there is no attribute called second. We are providing the attribute third, sorry, last, but this is second. So this is the error we can receive. So that's why we can use an advanced constructor, that is one init constructor. Different in different programming language it's called constructor. When Python is currently going to call it as a constructor, you can call it as a method. For that part we have to write here like say def so why is it called constructor? First there is written as a double underscore. A constructor will be discussed at the end of our oops concept. Okay, the advanced part when we'll learn the advanced part. But for now you can think like that whenever written as a double underscore, it will simply treat it as your constructor. Constructor means when it constructs something, it automatically initialized. If that method is present, it automatically called. That's why it written as a double underscore. When that employee one, employee two objects are created use from that class. Okay, so when we call that class in simple language, foul language, if I tell you, if we call that class, if we call that class to create that object, automatically whatever things will be written inside there, inside our init method or inside any constructor, it will automatically initialized or automatically called. So if we write here like def init, okay, say as it will we uses the self keyword for treating as our object itself, then the parameter will be providing. Say what are the first, say second, okay, and maybe I will not write email, I will write the phone. Why I will not email, I will see. We will see. Now let's change first self dot first name equal to first means, you know, this is nothing but we are defining one variable f name that we can use entire class inside that entire class. So you are defining one variable and taking that value from that first comes from here and it is the value came from here. Okay, nothing but just simple function concept in Python. Let's say self dot last. Why will written as a self dot last? Because it will use I mean it will change accordingly to each and every. if we not written as a self, what it will do is, we'll discuss today also that it will simply treat it as your class variable. Okay, class means this is a class as in class variable, not as an object variable. It's a little confusing. What is a class variable? What is object variable? What is instance? That's why you need to practice it well, those things. Okay. So when we written the self keywords treated as your objects, whatever the objects it will be treated. So definitely it will, whenever instance is created, it will instantiated each and everything. Either it's an F name or it's an A last name or whatever is in. So say self dot last and our name is our second. Okay. We did not write email, that the email we provided. We can here create one email, say self dot email. Again, you can write like first name, this self dot first name plus, say not last, say L name. L name plus @email.com. This is our email, and self dot phone number. Sometimes you will see that in some website people written the same name, self dot first equal to first is nothing but we will be reassigning that variable. Okay, as you already know that the memory and the variable concept. So from that first keyword we'll be receiving, we will be reassigning from the same variable first. So there may be some less error. Even in less, we will do like that, so the error is less. As we created now some variable, now we did not have to define like one each of the employee one first, employee two second, employee two third. We can simply comment that part out and write like, say, for our first name, then last name and phone number. Similar goes for the all of our instances. Now, as we don't also need that, we can simply create here one employee 3. Okay, there is no error. Now, if we write like emp3 dot full name, okay, the instance and the full name is, it will come here. Now you can also see we are written as a first, so it will definitely throw some error. Let's change it, first name and last name. Now we can see there is no error. As you can ask that what is null, because we are not returning something here using that statement. That's why it's written at. If we write here like return and execute, I will see the none will be there. Okay, the full name is equals. So within that init method is easily initialized. In there is a first name, second name, or each and every name, whatever things you will be doing, like some basic instance variable you may need to elaborate in every time you will be creating one instance. That's why we will be using that basic init constructor. Okay, either if we want to print, like say suppose we want to print this email id. Now how you can write, like you can simply write print, which one is emp2 dot email dot email at self dot email. We are not using the brackets because it's not a method. Okay, it's a simply variable values printed. Now as I told you, there is two way we, as till now we did, so till now we did is the only the using the object part. We can also call that method. There's a, either we can call like say emp1 dot method and it printed. Okay, till now so we also use our classes to call that method. So for that time you have to write like as the same things as I told you that we are not passing anything here. Okay, so when we call using that instance, when we call using instance, it will automatically pass each and every value you are providing. Okay, each and every value you will be providing when created that class. But when we call that method using that classes, so employee dot say full name. Okay, and that time we know we are calling, just go with that logic, you it definitely helps you. Okay, we are calling that class from we are calling that method from that class. So we write the class name, then dot, then our method name, then within the bracket we don't know which instance or which values we need to print it, because those are the value of the instances we will create it. If we execute, there definitely some error, definitely some error, because the missing the argument. So that time we have to provide the argument is, say suppose you want to print one the first instance that employee one. So execute, then the value will be printed. Okay, either you go like our traditional way, object then call our method and printed it out, or you can go with the non-traditional way. Okay, both ways are correct. You go for you can call with the object part, or you can call with the that part. It's called class part. Okay, both ways are correct. So this is basic foundation of the oops part. Okay. As we already know that the major, when we did in integer part or string part, say when we write a type bracket in, sorry, say a equal to 1, print type of a, what is, you can see this is written as a class. So those object na, those say suppose integer or string or list, whichever things will be created na, those are nothing but already written as a class in our Python backbone. Okay. So those are the integer class. If we return as a, say suppose any string, you can see is an class of string. Okay, and say suppose any list, we write say any list, and you can type check that, you can see it is a list. So when we printed out dict of A. So I'm not dict, it's a directive will be finding directory of A. Those entire each and everything we till know na? Based on this list thing, we did those things like append, clear, copy. Okay, those are the list method we will be using. Why? Because as this is list, when what do we do? Say if we define suppose like a C, and if when we call one method, say clear that list, okay, say a dot clear. That's how we call, na? How? That's an instance from that list class. This is list. From that list class, this is we will be creating one object, one list object that is A, and we calling that object's method. That's why we written like a dot clear. I told you that thing, that why we'll be calling as a method, not other thing like a function or maybe other language, other words, because those are the methods already presented in our list class. So when we call that method from that list instance we created, that's why we did like that. Okay, maybe some say and it's an instance from our string. So string. So when we did like say a dot upper, it's printed out that like that. Why? Because it's a string method we'll be calling. So each and everything we did till now is nothing but the nothing based on this concept. Oops, concept. Yeah, that is a Python is founding. Clear till now? Yeah, any question did you have?
Sir, one thing.
Hmm.
Sir, is it mandatory to write the first letter of the class name in capital?
No, it's not mandatory, but as a traditional way, like when you work in a real life project or real life industry, pay standard people will be following that time. So according to that standard, you have to write like that. Otherwise, maybe people reject your code. Who knows? There is no error.
Hmm.
There is no error. Sometimes people write some class name in small case letter also, because that has other purposes. When maybe it can inherit from other class, maybe it we will see in the next session. Okay, maybe some inheritance property when we will do that time we will use. Otherwise, even also that time people will not use. That's a genuine, like for our naked eye, people can easily understand that when you will be writing something in your caps and calling like that, that's means you are creating one instance based on the class. That's why.
Okay.
Otherwise, people simply thought that maybe it's a function. Okay.
Hmm.
Why I told you? Because suppose say suppose I'm defining one function. Hello function and hello. Now say suppose new Now, as this is the word, okay, this variable is now represented that function, okay. As we are not calling that function, means we are not returning that function. We are simply using a new name to represent that function because those two belongs to the same memory location. If we now execute that, then it will definitely execute as a function. What I try to see is people may be confused. Maybe you will see, let's suppose a equal to new func. It's an definitely we are creating. People will say that you definitely creating one instance or one object from that class. You will not throw any error. If we print so definitely just follow some traditional way, so it your code may not be rejected, okay, because in the end you have to satisfy your client. Otherwise maybe, yeah, there will be some modification you always have to do, and that's why. Okay, so if that part is clear, then let's go to our, which is our class variable. Okay. Let's copy our now. Till now we only know that only see that object variable. Suppose there is one thing, we change that phone number, okay, say there is one instance is us, it's called the salary. As you can see, I am using the same keyword, the same variable. 10,000. I'm changing that phone number to some pay amount. Okay. Now suppose say if we want to print any on the salary, you can know that it's wait print and our object name, then where it will be printed it out. Okay. Suppose there will be some raise, some raise in their salary. Okay. Now there will be some maybe 20% or maybe 30% raise will be their salary. Okay. Now if we write one method, say def apply raise, and some raise will be, say what pay will be over mm, dot pay into, say suppose 30%, 30% increase in salary. Now suppose this is his salary. Now after some good works, a get that achievement and he gets them the raise, the 30% raise. So we can write like mp1 dot that apply raise 30% increase in salary, and then his new amount. रिटर्न पे ये दो बार प्रिंट होना चाहिए, So now we can see this amount is increased. Okay. You can see one more thing, that automatically the decimal part is added. 0.0 means it converted from the integer to decimal value or the floating point value. Why? If we ask, then people those simple or single simplicity people can ask you. Okay, in Python, as I told you, that by default some type conversion is done by within the Python itself. So the less error people can receive. If there will be some multiplication of some decimal value, okay, so automatically it converted into your decimal place. It will be not converted into your integer place. So maybe some decimal value will be rejected if it's only considered as integer. Okay, so those are our implicit type conversion that Python itself will do. Now come back to this. We will be using that method using the applied res, and we'll simply imitate it out. Now the problem is, suppose the employee did some good work, it gets that pays amount and it will be printed. Now if the exact amount is changed, okay, maybe it may not be variable for that one person. Okay, sometime question, maybe there is some default raising amount for all the employee and some other amount for excellence you do, some different or some more. Okay, so the exact value we treated as a 30% value, it already written inside our some classes, then inside classes inside our some methods and some hard coded value. So definitely if we want, like, it's a simple task in simple object, you can easily see. But if it's an big line of codes, then definitely the hard coded things will be really definitely take you the most toughest time to find it out. So whenever we do things like that, we can simply use, okay, one class variable, so that the exact hard-coded thing like 1.30, we may not have to use that. We can simply use that class variable, because the class variable is same for each and every person inside our class. So if we write, or maybe you can ask one more thing, like suppose you want to print out what is the exact raise amount. Okay, the raising amount for those employee. Okay, we get the entire means that part. We have maybe have do some mathematical calculation to get that exact raised amount, maybe some percentage, what is it will be received. So for that thing we can simply use one class variable. Okay, to rewrite one class variable, it's simple, nothing but as we can write if function variable instead of function, we can simply write here, say raise amount, okay, defining as 1.30. Now as we now use one class variable, if we write here raise amount, okay, execute. Now you can definitely see one name error. Why? You can ask, like, why it's showing error, because this is one class variable will defining within that entire class, so we can write each and every portion of that portion, but why it's showing an error? Because in object oriented concept, whenever we try to define, or maybe we try to execute, or maybe we try to use, either it's an instance variable or maybe some methods, or which in whatever things it will be, it definitely bound to some concept. Either it's belong from some our class, maybe belongs from some objects or instance. So as the raise amount is a class variable, we can simply write that class itself dot raise amount. You can simply write, you can see, or maybe we can simply write the instant itself. Okay, as the instant will be representing using the self keyword, so we can write self. You'll see there will be no error. Okay. So remember that, but which and whenever you will try to do the exact variable, not the variable, I will see each and every kind of things. Okay. Either you should do like from the class way, or you can do like from the objects. Okay. So the advantage of using a class variable is maybe inside your class some changes you will do. Maybe the pay hike will come to your 25%. Then you can simply change it from in single line here rather than dig deep into all those methods. Okay. Some modification if we need to do. Okay. So either we can go through using the class or we can go through using our objects. Okay. I guess that part is simple, it's easy. If you guys any question?
Sir,
Hmm.
can we execute the class variable using object?
Can we execute the class variable?
Using
Yeah,
objects.
that's what I'm doing. This is a class variable, na? Raise amount.
Yeah.
Now what we will writing? We wrote here self dot raise amount. So
Hmm.
we are using that class variable within that
No, no.
object itself.
I'm saying from outside of the class.
Outside the class, no.
Okay.
Obviously no. If we write here, let's suppose raise amount. This is the name error. Why? You guys already know, because it did not follow any the scope rule.
Hmm.
Okay, what is
Because
LGB rule?
because it's not a global variable.
It's not a global variable. If we want, then it it will definitely, you can use like global, because whatever global you will value set here in the raise amount, it will definitely change inside itself. So it will does not put any meaning outside of it. Okay, so it's no necessary to use uh, apart from the ten closure, the class variable. You can use using that for printing some stuff like here. You can use like employee.1. You can write like a print. You can employee dot raise amount, and we can get that value. That how we can write.
Hmm.
Maybe that's what, or that's why.
Yeah,
Both
yeah.
gives you the same value. We will came into that part because there is some method that only works in within itself. Okay, so you pick the topic, I will discuss it. Okay, so as we can see that until now we can using either using that class name or using that objects name. Now you can ask, the topic you pick is really good. I can means give a claps for it. Okay. But the most modification question you can ask is that these are the class variable. Na?
Hmm.
Then why we can access through our instance?
Hmm.
This is a big question. Like as you see, print employee dot raise amount and print. It will give us the same value. This is a big question. Like why, as this is our class variable, then in which purpose it will be we can access through objects. Okay, you can think, give it a try. I will explain to today. You can think like why we can use it using that instance when we can call it as a class variable. You can think, don't worry, you can means, and whatever comes into your mind, you can tell. Don't worry about mistakes. Okay, mistakes always lead into a new step.
Just because it refers to the class, not the object.
Hmm. No, no. My question is, we can call it as a class variable, na? So we can use it as a class variable as I print employee raise amount. Yeah, okay, it printed out 1.3. But why it also used means you can use as our instance. Okay, why you can use through our instance? That's my question. We know it's a class variable.
Hmm.
Other people you can also think like which things comes into your mind. You are when you try, na, you the question you ask is really good. Okay, because even I also forget that I maybe skip that part, but now maybe I can uh, elaborate that. It's a good part. It's really interesting part. You will see. So when in Python, not only in Python, but also other part also like in Java, JavaScript, whatever the coding language is properly supported the basic OOPS concept. First, your language is trying to find either it has any instance or not. If that class belongs to an instance, as instance is trying to find, so as instance is already belong from that class, employee class, so definitely we can access through it. Okay, we can see that maybe feature there's what is called the parameter may not be represented from that instance, but it represented from that class itself. Okay, so when we call that class, it's created instance from that class. First in Python, it will first check if that instance had that exact attribute or not. Okay, if that instance instance does not have any attribute, maybe that employee one will check. Yes, if that part has not is that attribute, then it will try to find if that class has the attribute or not. Is had the attribute, okay, fine, it will gives you no error. If that class may not have that attribute, maybe that class, that employee class inherited from other classes. Okay, in next session we will see. So it will check, Python will check if maybe inherit from any parent class, then it will try to find out that if that parent class has that attribute or not. Okay, let's see. First, printed out each and every attribute that our employee owners have. So for that, we can write this instance name and one key constructor property update. So you can see it has the first name, it has the last name, it has the email, it has the pay amount, but no our raise amount. So as when we try to call it for first MP1, MP1 did not have that amount and have that attribute. So next Python will try to find, it will goes to our employee. Let's go. If that class belong class has that attribute or not. You can see in our employee class there is full name, applied age. Applied age is our applied age dict, sorry, raise amount. You can see that the raise amount attribute is presented, so that's why it's printed. Okay, if we did one thing, say suppose change the value. Okay, say employee dot raise amount, say suppose 50%. Okay, now employee dot raise amount and employee one dot raise amount. See, it's changed when we change that class variable. So according to all the instance variable automatically change, because that attribute is not present for that one instance, so it will definitely uh, take updated from that class. So as the classes value change, so automatically it is changed for each and every. If I print for our employee 3 dot reservoir, it will print the same. Okay, because instance will start to, as it's not present within that instance, so it will start finding if that attribute is presented with that employee class. Now if we change value, say suppose emp1, now let's comment that out. Okay, now let's reset. Now our raise amount is 1.30, and now say emp1 has that emp1 has raise amount of 1.5. Okay, now print emp1 dot raise amount, print employee dot raise amount, print emp2 dot raise amount. Now you will see only as we changed that attribute value, means this value within a instance, let's say employee one. If we check now, when we purposely changed one class variable with using one object, then now that the attributes is presented within that object too. Okay, as you can see, there is no attribute you can find as your raise amount. If we check here, say employee 1.8, you will see it's already created one new attribute for that object itself, but it did not affected that the class employee or maybe the other attribute. That's a major advantage using the groups concept. So whenever whatever things maybe in other Python concepts, if you change one variable, it changes for the permanent. But when we change one class variable using that object itself, then it may not change for the each and every value with the object. It only changes for the object within the object itself. Okay. But if we write like print implicit or is sorry it, you will see no clear है ना. This is the advantage. Okay, and this is our class difference between our class variable and the objects variable. Okay. One more thing, like one good, if we do one code, say suppose we want to create one variable to count out how many employees are there. Okay, say we created one variable number of employee, okay, as 0, as initially we set it as one class 0, number of employees is 0. Now we created that variable to count how many will be created as using the auto increment. So how many instance it will be created means how many employee it will be created, or how many employee maybe it will be joining, automatically created the number. So we can write like self dot number of employee equal to plus equal to 1. So what it will do, execute. Now as if we create one employee here, when you created one employee, automatically it's a constructor, automatically initialize, it will increment it into one more. Okay, same goes for when you created employee 2, increment to one more, so now the employee count is 2. So next part will be employee 3, next part is 2. Okay, now as we now executed that class and we are not executing this thing, say comment it out for now and print employee dot number of employee, you can see the count is 0. Okay, now let's recommend it out, and if we execute, there are 3 employees created. Now we want to check the number of employee, you can see dot give me a minute, we are doing some error. Oh, now it should work. So as number of time will be the employee will be initializing, it automatically created one new employee. Okay, same did work because as we are not using any instance there. Okay, we are only creating one class variable and counting the based on this class we will be increasing as it multiple time it got called. Okay, in it, so it will be increased to a new value, number one, auto increment to a step by number one. Okay, so as it's initialized, then the entire employee becomes the 3. So this is the class variable. Class variable definitely it's and the big advantages when you have to use in a default as kind of the work will be as a default variable. So you can use each and every part of your class part. Then you can accordingly to change it. If you want to change it based on that object, you can change using that. So as the class variable is only belong to the class, so when we try to call using that object itself, then what Python will try to find if that variable is presented within the object. If it doesn't belong to that object, then it will definitely try to find if that belongs to that class. So if that belongs to the class, it will not it will be simply printed it out or execute. If it not belongs to the class, then it will try to find if maybe it's belong from an inherited class or maybe some default class that the Python already presented or maybe dictated. Okay, so these are the basic oops concept. Okay. Next day we'll start talking about the methods. Okay, we'll talking about the decorator parts, how we can use the decorator and the different kind of static and class methods are presented. Okay, so do you have any questions?